Hello, folks, and welcome to a Rangers Review reaction video with myself, Jonny McFarlane, and Joshua Barrie live in Bilbao. It was a disappointing night in the end as Rangers fell to a 2-0 defeat. There was a lot to discuss, a lot going on in the game, but perhaps the most obvious thing to start on, Josh, just your thoughts on the overall performance.
Overall, I think Bilbao's quality over the two legs eventually shone through. We'll obviously get into some of the specifics today and tomorrow morning as to maybe where it fell down for Rangers, to some of the decisions that didn't help, penalty decisions, referee decisions, which are a part of the story of this tie. But I think just a bridge too far, Jonny. And while Bilbao, they weren't... listen, they were really strong, but I thought what stood out about them is that they just controlled things. Generally, I think they were helped with a penalty call, probably in both legs. You could say I think there's two soft penalties have got over the two ties, and Rangers did manage to get up the pitch at points tonight. But in terms of genuine opportunity, aside from that Nico Raskin moment, it didn't fashion that much. So there'll be an element of frustration in what might have been because it was only 2-0, and there was a few nervy moments in the stadium. But I think you saw why they're favourites for the tournament, really, and you saw why they finished top in the group stage.
Do you know what, Josh? I wasn't that impressed with them tonight either.
Really?
Honestly, genuinely, they were fine. And maybe with your angle, more of a kind of bird's eye view of the pitch. They're certainly well coached, and I'm not saying that they're not a good side, but I think Rangers have struggled through real bad luck across these two games.
I agree with that. Yeah.
You saw that tonight in terms of losing Ridvan, losing Balogun. It's the one area of the pitch that Rangers just couldn't afford injuries.
Yeah.
I kind of felt Barrie was hamstrung to the point that there was almost nothing he could do against a side of this quality. I thought Rangers started the game reasonably well. And while it was Ridvan out there on the right, Rangers looked like they were coping pretty well. Yes, Bilbao had a lot of the ball. Yes, they were the better team. It was always going to be back to the wall. We knew that was going to be the case. But that penalty moment, Josh, I know you won't have seen it as well as I have because I've been sitting here watching it at home on TV and you've been in the ground. You see it once. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch it back. It is truly ridiculous. I can't believe that VAR haven't intervened. Have you seen it back?
I have, yeah. I've inherited a chatty person behind me, so hopefully people can.
We can hear you. We can't hear him. So don't panic.
Okay, good, loud and clear. Yeah, when I saw it in the stadium, I thought it was enough to. I guess the question is it how far away is he? Is he going to get on the end of it, and does that impact the decision? But I mean, Dessers was fuming, and you could understand why, because there's no attempt to play the ball. Now, you pay more attention to IFAB rules than me. I tend to find them unbelievably boring. But it's just a stonewall penalty. And I think, especially, Jonny, when you consider Bilbao's penalty tonight is a penalty. And I agree with you. They weren't like, there wasn't moments I thought tonight where you thought, wow, like they are on a different planet to Rangers. Equally, they've created a chance with Nico Williams in the first half where he misses an open goal. Oyan Sanset had 2 or 3 moments he should probably do better with. You know, there was a lot of jeopardy, I think, for Rangers after the first 15, 20 minutes where they started really well. But when you consider the penalty they don't get, and when you consider the penalty Bilbao obviously do get in the first leg, I think there will, understandably, as I know Barry Ferguson's been speaking about the press conference, be a large degree of frustration, because to get through this tie, they needed maybe a little bit of luck, but certainly the small decisions to fall in their favour, and they didn't. They fell in Bilbao's favour. And then I'm in agreement with you, and probably a lot of people watching back home. I don't understand why. Maybe you can understand the referee missing it if he's watching the flight of the ball. Can't understand how VAR doesn't look at that.
Listen, it's the eternal thing in football, isn't it? When someone gets pulled back, you're always asking yourself, is there enough contact? Is that enough to go down? You can't measure it, so how can you manage it? Well, in this case, we can measure it. There's tangible evidence, there's tangible proof of the level of power that has to have gone into that pool, because he's literally ripped the shirt off. And you know, that's a lot of power has to go into that to rip that. Now, I know people take the mickey out of his story and say the stuff isn't that good, but it's not that bad. Let me tell you, that guy has ripped that shirt off him, and that is more than enough to be awarded a penalty in terms of the level of contact, the level of opposition that he's forcing Dessers into there.
Yeah.
The question for me is it a red card? Now, the IFAB ruling on this, I think, definitely leaves interpretation open for it to be a red card. I'd say it errs on the side of being a red card. In the group chat that I'm in, which has got fans of multiple clubs, there was a bit of what I would describe as some people thought it was a red card, some people didn't. There was a bit of an argument about it. But here's what the rule states: is where a player commits an offence against an opponent within their own penalty area, which denies an opponent an obvious goal-scoring opportunity, and the referee awards a penalty kick, the offender is cautioned if the offence was an attempt to play the ball or a challenge for the ball. Now, this clearly wasn't that. And it says here, in all other circumstances, holding, pulling, pushing, where there's no possibility to play the ball, the offending player must be sent off. Now, where there's been debate is around the idea of, is it an obvious goal-scoring opportunity because was the ball too far away from Dessers at that point? Personally, I think it's a red card and a penalty, because I think if you look at the stills, there's a reason he's pulled, and he's pulled is because he's an error in terms of allowing Dessers to in behind him.
But and surely if it's not one, it's the other. Could it not? Correct me if I'm wrong, but could have therefore been a penalty, but not a red card. Am I right in saying that? If it had been, and you know what I think will be the most frustrating part for Rangers is they started really well for the first 15-20 minutes. I think, and we're going to cover this in a piece tomorrow morning on the website, I do think Barrie Ferguson makes a mistake with his substitution. Well, again, we'll explore that in more length in the podcast tomorrow. But I think taking Diamande out the middle of the park, what it did was, firstly, there was a raft of changes. The players couldn't really hear Ferguson. It was so loud in here at points. But secondly, it took, I think, who'd been Rangers' most effective player for the first 15 minutes out of their best position. What Diamande was giving you was an ability to play through pressure, and that's what they'd lacked last week, and that was creating a bit of space up top. And if you score and make it 1-0, and I know a penalty isn't a guaranteed goal, but it's a pretty good opportunity, then there will be that who knows what if. From there, from the change, I think Rangers were always playing catch-up. You saw that with Clinton Enciala coming on, and then Balogun, who fractures his cheekbone. We've just been speaking to him in the mix zone. He hopes he's not played his last football this season, but he had to go off. It's the fourth time he's fractured his cheekbone in his career, so there was no allowance for him to stay on the park. Then they changed shape again. Obviously, the note was passed on late on as they tried to go for something. So I feel, Jonny, they were always playing catch-up from that moment. And if they had got the penalty at 0-0, then the atmosphere here really could have turned, because Rangers would have been the happier team, I think, after 15 minutes on the basis of their performance. The only real chance, Nico Williams had one mazy run, but aside from that, they kind of kept Bilbao quite quiet, and that, I think, was because they were able to get up the pitch largely through Diamande, as opposed to just defending wave after wave of Athletics possession around the Rangers half.
Yeah. In terms of the penalty that went to Bilbao, I think it is a penalty. I think it's a soft penalty.
It is.
The reason it's a penalty, though, is because John Souttar gets wrong side. And when you get wrong side and make contact in the European football, it's always going to be awarded, isn't it? And if you look at the decision-making of the referee, I don't think there was any doubt that penalty was going to be given. And you know what? Rightly so. If that's a Rangers player, you're saying it's a penalty. So steps up, puts it in the bottom left-hand corner. No chance for Liam Kelly, who goes the wrong way. Rangers are then up against it. You think to yourself, go regroup, second half, come out, maybe adopt a more attacking personality in the team, change things up, get everyone calmed down. And then immediately, Leon Balogun is, I don't know who he collided with. Was it John Souttar? Or
John Souttar, it was John Souttar. It looked a sore one.
Really, really sore one. And then the whole thing's thrown up again.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's a penalty, and people can say that he was looking for it, but that doesn't matter because of the contact. It was a penalty, and it was just that split second. Rangers had defended it so well. It was literally the worst time to concede, because maybe if you get in at halftime, you have survived that kind of mini onslaught Athletic have. And I think, Jonny, still outside of the penalties, look, Athletic had the quality they were the better team tonight. They're clearly a better team. And they missed big chances in the first leg. They missed those big chances in the first half. Nico Williams, in effect, misses an open goal, doesn't he, with the game at 0-0. So even if that penalty had gone in, even if Rangers had been awarded it, who knows? But from there, they're playing catch-up. Balogun has to go off. And they go kind of 4-4-2 because they've got nothing else to go with. They've not got any more defence options, really. Thought Enciala looked fine when he came on. I just think that switch towards the end of the first half, Jeffy left centre back, moving Suter over, and I know Suter plays that right centre back role in the second half, but I think that's maybe just the difference between if you move from centre back to right centre back, he's probably not used to. He's defending in different areas. He's having to check his shoulder in a way he didn't 10 minutes ago. And in an atmosphere like this, I think it's those small details that make a difference. And Rangers are unfortunate because if Ridvan stays in the pitch, if his hamstring, which is already strapped up, doesn't go, then they don't have to make that decision anyway. So that minor detail, the penalty, all these things maybe go against them, and they, because of the quality gap, because of the chances Athletic already had, and they needed them to all go in their favour. When Raskin hits the post, again a really close minute, and there was a little bit of jeopardy you could sense in the home crowd around about the hour mark, but Nico Williams' header for that second goal, a really poor moment for James Tavernier defensively, but I think a second goal over the course of that game was certainly coming at some point.
Yeah, and Tavernier had a good game outside of that. He switched off at a crucial moment. But I think overall his performance in the Europa League this season has been very good, and that's been unusual of late for Tavernier to switch off at the back post. And you're talking about a world-class player who's just sneaked in there and a great header. But really, really disappointing night, Josh. Obviously, Manchester United have gone through as well. So
crazy game.
It would have been Rangers against Manchester United, and then you've got Bodo Glimt v Spurs. It's a kind of game. If you got through tonight, the whole thing opens up, doesn't it?
It does. You're right.
All four of those teams will really, really fancy their chances of winning the title and winning this trophy, and probably Bilbao now go into it as favourites, given they're going to play the final in their own home stadium. And it's a really, really disappointing one. In terms of you, Josh, who have you spoken to in the mix zone tonight?
People can go and watch Liam Balogun's interview just now on the YouTube channel, and we'll have more over the weekend that Yanis Hadji and Conor Barron speaking to. So yeah, I'm gonna get out this stadium before I'm kicked out and get back to the Airbnb. But we'll myself and yourself will be on in the morning to dissect it in a bit more detail and get through some comments.
Yeah, it's midnight where you are, so yeah, definitely time to get you away. What are you far away from the Airbnb?
Wee bit, yeah. So about 20 minutes, half an hour if I make it quick. So yeah, if the train
half an hour's walk or half an hour on an Uber.
Half an hour's walk. So we'll see. So hopefully, I'm not going to have to walk it though. Yeah. Well,
half an hour's walk's fine for a young, strapping, fit lad like yourself. Right, let's call it a day. Listen, everyone, thanks very much for joining us. Disappointing night, but lots of positivity to take out the overall run in Europe this year. The less said about domestic matters, the better. But at least in Europe, you can see that there's some green shoots there to look forward to, and to say that perhaps there is some foundations in this squad that can be built upon. Okay, guys, until we come back tomorrow, thanks for watching, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks.